Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show Review with Mike G, the show of life, the show of fast cars, the show of agave art, Venice Beach, and so much more. It is my absolute pleasure to share this conversation with Mr. Ron Cooper. Has had such an impact in the world of art and, of course, created Del Maguey. I'm not sure we would be here in the world of agave in the United States without his influence. He's a brilliant person, kind of like a shaman, and we recently recorded in the basement of the Esquire Tavern in San Antonio. This is a really amazing chat, and I cannot wait to see what you think. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Mr. Ron Cooper.
How was Andy Warhol?
Yeah.
He was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a cool dude.
The parties were very art forward, aesthetically pleasing, strange, and all that stuff.
They were pretty normal.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And you had an art studio out in New York at that time, right?
I had a studio. I had Barnett Newman's old studio.
Man.
He had died. His wife, Annalise, still had it. There was high on the walls, his blue poles, a classic painting. There was still overpainting on the walls.
Oh, no
same
kidding.
Blue, yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
His pieces were massive, weren't they, typically?
Yeah, they were huge.
Like Rothko, kind of, really big.
Bigger than that.
Were they
were
bigger?
like, 10 feet, 12 feet by 18 feet, like that. But I didn't get it from Barnett. I got it from Dan Flavin.
Okay.
You know who Flavin is?
No, tell me about that.
Flavin is the guy that made the first really cool fluorescent light art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, using
Interesting,
8-foot tubes, installing them, color tubes or
Sure.
white tubes or cool white tubes in spaces. He was a very cool guy. It was one of the first part of minimalism.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that time, I mean, you're talking about some of the biggest players, because you've got Rothko, Newman, Rauschenberg, too. Was part of the team?
Rauschenberg was a buddy of mine.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jasper Johns around the same time?
Jasper has a bronze portrait of him in his entry hall that
No
I did.
kidding.
Yeah.
So, the thing is that you've got this predilect, you love fast cars, which is good.
Definitely.
Like Steve McQueen kind of thing, right? Very,
Yeah,
very. Vantage Point, is that what I'm thinking of?
Vanishing Point,
Yeah,
that
Vanishing Point,
movie.
thank you,
That's
yeah.
a good chase scene.
Definitely good car stuff.
Mhm.
But then you kind of had, because there's so much to talk about, right? The Ojai piece, because the way that you were raised was a little more secular, I guess you could say. A little less rules as you kind of were going to grade school and
very
stuff.
open, yeah.
Do you think that set kind of motion for you to say, you know what? I don't think there's a template to how I need to live this life. I'm going to do it exactly how I want to do
Well,
it.
thank you. You got it. I spent my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the library
Yeah.
reading. They had every National Geographic ever made.
Dude.
So I went through those. Old cars in there.
Yeah.
All cultures. Progression of, the world becoming industrialized,
Yeah.
developing. It was a real education for me.
What was the first time that you think that you were, because there's mentions of your first trip to Europe when you left high school early, you graduated, right? But what do you think was the first time that you said to yourself, I need to create, I need to take whatever this is?
At 13, my best friend Siggy and I were going to be the greatest car builders in the world.
Yeah.
Car customizers. And back then they didn't have model cars, that were
Like
hot
the small,
rods.
yeah.
They had ships and airplanes, and we
Mm.
would cut up these plastic parts with jeweler saws and melt them and twist them and turn them into hot rods.
Oh, that's cool.
I just was telling Fred on the way up here, I asked my brother, who's the family archivist. I went,
Yeah.
"Hey, got any pictures of my early cars?" No. Cold as shit. Just,
Really?
no. Well, then 6 months later, I get a email from him saying, "Hey, I just had all Mom's Super 8 movies
Oh, cool.
transferred to video. And guess what? Here's a 10-minute segment of you and your cars
No way.
on the front walkway.
Oh, that's so cool.
There's 20 cars. It's all shaky, out of focus. And me and my friend Siggy laying on the lawn with our flat top boogie haircuts from the 50s, It was 1957.
Oh, I mean, there you go. Perfect.
And the cars are exactly what I've got today.
Are they?
The same style exactly.
Yeah. Did you have I mean, I know it's hard to say because cars in themselves is beautiful artwork, especially in the 50s with the Chevys, and then you've got the Stingrays stuff coming out later, right? With the Corvette. But what is one that to you really hangs in your mind as something so aesthetically
Well,
perfect?
you should remember. Don't you remember Kooky, lend me your comb?
No, what is that?
You don't remember that?
Wait. No.
77 Sunset Strip. There was T-Bucket, a Model T pickup truck with a shortened bed and a big hot Chevy engine.
Yeah, cool.
Flames, metallic blue with flames painted on it.
That's
But then we left for after high school. We left for Europe, and we stopped in New York, and we went to all the museums.
Yeah.
And we went to the Cedar Tavern, where I met Franz Klein. I'm 18 years old, and I went to these museums. I went, oh, art. So I took a 50-year sidetrack.
Yeah. Do you think that you were pretty? Because it sounds like the people that have appreciated you throughout your career. You mentioned David Byrne, Dennis Hopper, Dean Stockwell too, which is a great favorite, one of my favorite actors. Why? What do you think it was that brought you and allowed people to say, man, Ron, we want you to be part of this thing. We're into you.
Well, they're the same kind of people.
Yeah.
We're American.
Yeah.
We all grew up in nowhere, and we all clawed our way out on our own ingenuity.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Kind of the ambition and making your own path.
Well, that's what America allows,
Yeah.
As compared to anywhere else. It's like the can-do spirit,
Sure.
It's like that's who we are,
and
we have to be real careful not to squash that.
Yeah. Do you let's take a sidetrack to the present a bit here. How are you feeling about that as a tenet? Which I think making your own path, being a made woman, being a made man, I think these are things that are really important. Do you think that that's a little more difficult now? The way that perhaps feels like people are a little bit more polarized or at each other.
Well, I'm buddy with a lot of guys that are Trumpies.
Yeah.
Through racing and there's a responsibility. My family's always been Democrats, and there's a responsibility besides having the right to decide your own trajectory.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility for other people as well.
Absolutely.
You're not just by yourself. And that's what's missing now is like, this whole, drown the swamp?
Yeah, right.
Come on, man.
It's strange.
We have a responsibility to other fellow humans.
Do you think, because I think about the grit of 70s art and 70s cinema too, right? And it's funny because people say, oh, well, stuff now is more violent. It's way more offensive. But you go look at some of that
Straw
stuff.
Dogs?
Yeah. Oh, dude, exactly.
Sam Peckinpah?
Yes, Peckinpah for sure. Dustin Hoffman, great role for him. But, do you think that things are way more sanitized now than they actually were back in the 80s and the 70s from an art perspective?
Yeah, I think it's just very different,
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at art attitudes, and there was such a naivete back then.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool place to be.
Sure.
I love being in a airspace that's not polluted.
It's brilliant.
So, you're back then in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like I lived in Venice Beach.
Okay.
From 69 to 82. and I was one of the pioneers of Venice Beach. Artists always move in and destroy everything.
Do they really?
Well, they make it livable.
Oh, got it.
They make it interesting for everybody, and then everybody comes in, and then
That's
it
a
fucks
good
it up.
point. You've seen Austin now? It's
Yeah,
almost
man. No, 5 years ago, Austin was a dream, compared
it's
to
totally
what it is
different
now.
It's funny to think that really at the core of it, artists are ruining the cities,
Yeah.
right? We think it's gentrification, which maybe to some extent it is, but
Well, it is gentrification, but artists are the ones that lead the way.
I never even thought about it.
They're
like
like canaries in the
that.
mine,
Maybe cool, yeah.
in the reverse,
Yes.
They just
Drawing
go
people.
in and delight in it, and everyone else goes, "Oh, this is so cool. Let's do that."
I think about I could maybe call it a punk rock attitude about things. There's the way that you exited art school, unceremoniously, I guess you could say, that kind of spirit of fuck establishment in a way. Do you still have those kinds of threads? Was that a piece
Oh
of
yeah,
it?
no, I'm an outlaw.
Yeah.
Gladly, yeah. I don't even know what I'm doing right this second in terms of breaking laws, but I'm always out there trying to get through the cracks.
Not apologizing, right?
Yeah,
One
yeah,
bit of the way.
Yeah.
How about the thread of love? One of the things is beyond the passion for art and the passion for Mezcal, obviously the bedrock of the new book. I noticed a little bit of an absence. This is in contrast to someone like Tomas Estes, right?
Yeah.
Who Tomas talks about women all the time. But for you, how has love been? How has that motivated you? Yeah,
Love?
or moved you and inspired?
Man, I love women, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I've had a really great, I'm 75. I have a great lifetime of beautiful women.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, feminine. And my partner, Sandra Lerner, now, and I have been together 27 years.
That's
we're
amazing.
not married.
Yeah.
We're completely illegal, and but we're together for 27 years. So.
Did you, speaking of marriage, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel the need, because I know that you were married. And you
Oh,
had a
I got
few-
married several times, yeah.
But now, your attitude, do you see it adding value or any kind of change to...
I think family's beautiful. Last night at the Terry Allen concert, it changed my life.
Yeah.
In the way that I made art as a sole individual.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're working a print shop, you have assistants. I have an assistant in my studio. But basically, you're the auteur, you just make the piece.
Right.
Well, I want to bring in family. I mean, I watched this group with Lloyd Maines last night, and one of the Sexton brothers playing
cool.
guitar, and this fantastic woman Terry playing a blues harp. Dickie Bowden on fiddle and mandolin. David Byrne came in.
Oh, man.
I want to make art that includes people.
Yeah.
That's not solo. So my art right now, from my point of view, is hot rods and racing.
Mm-hmm.
And we race the Baja in a car that holds 3 people.
Oh, that's cool.
1,000-mile Baja off-road race. But there's a race that I've yet to run and build a car for, and it's called the Mexican Road Race, or the Carrera Panamericana. And it's 6 days, and you leave Tuxtla Gutierrez in the bottom of Mexico, and you finish up in Brownsville, Texas.
Oh, gosh.
And so the race started in 1950 to show off the Pan American Highway, to show that you could drive through Mexico on paved roads. Well, the fastest car that won was an 18-year-old kid driving an Oldsmobile.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And the next fastest car was the Hudson Hornet.
Oh, I don't know the Hudson Hornet.
Yeah, the Hudson Hornet's amazing. And I just got a Hudson Hornet
Oh,
coupe.
cool.
So Terry Allen threatened to do the soundtrack for the car, right? Well, I'm going to put 4 seats in that car.
Yeah.
I'm going to have 3 passengers and me. We'll change over driving, and we're just going to do this race,
Oh, yeah.
together.
So I like that. Did you think that you started out maybe more solitarily as an artist? And
I was always a solitary person. Yeah.
In the way, moving to Mezcal when this, the fortuitous trip of 1986.
Boy, that includes a lot of people, doesn't it?
It does, right?
I mean, thousands.
In the way that in the book, the way that you write about the men themselves, and I know that you did this with Chantal, right? And she was kind of helping, but there's this reverence for the masculinity that repeats. There's this theme, this ruggedness, the mystique, this Lee Marvin kind of characteristic, right? And for you, is that one of the ways that you look at the process? Is a very masculine one, very much of using your hands, much like creating your own art?
Yeah, but you mentioned Chantal, and I got to tell you that she is absolutely brilliant. And we worked with Skype 3 days a week.
Oh, cool. Okay.
On the phone. I went to New York 3 times and hung out with her.
Yeah.
She came down twice for 10 days to Oaxaca and went to all of our villages.
Yeah.
As far north as Puebla. You know, we really collaborated completely. So, number one. But, no, I think there are women. You know how the New York Times now is kind of apologizing and doing obituaries of women that they passed over?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so retroactively
every day, you know, in the obituary column, they're like going, "Oh, excuse us, we kind of passed over this woman, and she did this." And so, I think, you know, and frontier women, I think, you know, I love women, and I love the goddess and matriarchy. I love it.
Do you have a particularly feminine side as well? Or you feel
Sure.
that balance?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah.
Does that come out in your work, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mezcal itself, too, thinking about that, even composed by men. Now, it's not always crafted.
But there are
distilled.
women makers, and
Absolutely.
our producer Luis Carlos Vasquez in Santa Catarina, Minas, works hand in hand with Alejandrina, his partner. She works as hard as he does.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's weird that I think people are starting to give attention to the support that women put in. Paciano Cruz Nolasco in San Luis, his 2 daughters, Emma and Mary Lou, have always helped.
Yeah.
There are women's, you know, of course there are always women behind a good man, but
Yeah, that's right.
but there are women out front too.
Good.
That are doing good, yeah.
There are obviously many details about your relationship with Mezcal in the book, but one thing I wanted to ask you is, if you can think of it like this, when you came to terms and kind of finally understood Mezcal and you, for the beautiful thing it is, the artistic thing, what kinds of colors actually do you see when you drink Mezcal?
Oh, okay. Well, I want to just put something in right now, and that is that I never had any idea of creating a business or a company.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was make sure that I was able to share it with me and my friends. You know, have a good supply. You know? Yeah, people make a big deal out of it, but you know, like tasting Tobasiche is pure yellow for me.
Yeah,
you know?
that's cool.
It's you know, and then I don't go too far, like shades of violet or I don't do that.
Is anything a true blue color for you? Because that's
no
blues. Okay.
No. Franz Klein, the artist.
Yeah.
Franz Klein International Blue, YK Blue.
Yeah.
You know, YKB, but
when did big Klein fan. I have some of his work in my home actually. Now they're reprints, right? But for some reason blue is a recurring one for me. I don't know why. Maybe because it's so emotive.
Bob Irwin said something about the back of your eye is actually a violet color.
Oh, really?
Violet blue, yeah.
Oh, so perhaps I've been seeing it all along. Actually,
yeah, right.
Really.
So it's part of our experience. I love that. It's a very artificial color. You barely have.
That's a good point.
It's beautiful, you know, at dawn and dusk when you get into a blue zone like that. It's really beautiful.
Very, very meditative.
Yeah, I don't relate it to taste at all.
Interesting. So 1995, the big year, 54 cases, I think, is what
Yeah,
came
right.
in,
Big
right?
time.
Dude,
Yeah.
you like half a pile of mezcal, and you can share it with the world. You know?
Well, I wasn't sharing it with the world. I was getting it in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for me and my friends,
Yeah.
and the U.S. Customs applauded.
So cool.
Yeah, it's like a touching thing to have these tough,
It's landmark
legal
things.
guys, like go, yeah, man, you made it.
I think that's a great. I mean, I was just talking to Evan before. You were eating upstairs, and it's like the brand has been around so long and organically been growing and reaching people in the purest ways, but it didn't affect us until far later.
Yeah.
And that, I wouldn't say it's a struggle, but that growth and that momentum with you at the helm and your baby and trying to be a conduit into these people's lives. And you said it takes you directly to that time and place, like a snapshot these bottles do, right? This mezcal. But was it a really difficult process for you? Did you feel weathered to go and bring these bottles in one
Hey,
at
man,
a time?
we're coming on March. It'll be 24 years.
Oh, that's crazy.
My philosophy was one person nose to nose at a time.
Yeah.
Or nose to nose, one person at a time. And just sitting down like we're communicating and sharing.
Right.
I was willing to do that because I loved it,
Yeah.
and that was it.
It is one of the best conversation liaisons there is.
Yeah, it really works, doesn't it?
It's
Stitchy
helping
Bam.
me, Stitchy. Thank you, Ron. What do you think? Were people ready in the 90s for mezcal? Do you think the cocktail
No, I love
culture-
it that they weren't. It was kind of unsettling and frustrating, and like I'll tell you, in the 90s, I flew to St. Louis, Missouri, broke, got into the cheapest motel I could get in. Our new distributor, picked me up in the morning, Monday morning, cold, to go over to the offices to educate. And a sales guy takes me out to a bar restaurant, and it's now 11:30. They're not open. The owner's standing there, and he goes, "Do I have to taste this shit?"
Oh,
And he goes, "Hey, Juan." He shouts back to the kitchen, "Hey, Juan, come here." He says, "Taste this mezcal." Juan tastes the mezcal. He goes, "Yeah, it's good, but I like tequila." Because no matter where Juan is from, and probably illegal,
Yeah.
his concept is the only thing that Americans respect about Mexico is tequila.
Yeah.
Culture,
Yeah,
right?
right.
They don't know anything else. They know that. So I don't like mezcal. I like tequila. So we moved forward to the trade towers, and hundreds and hundreds of people from all nations die, and Mexicans are included. So we've shared this international tragedy. So I go back out. I'm not so poor anymore, but I go back out. It's cold. It's Monday morning.
It's always cold. Yeah.
We go to a restaurant. The sales guy introduces me to the owner. The owner says, "I won't drink this shit, but hey, Juan, come here." Juan comes out. He says, "Taste this." He's looking at our clay cups. He's going, "What the hell is that?"
Yeah.
Juan goes, "Oh, yeah, the stuff that my grandfather drank. I love
amazing.
mezcal."
Amazing.
Because he didn't need to buy into his belief that Americans only knew and admired tequila.
That's a very proud moment.
It was a very great moment.
Yeah.
So I would say that all Mexicans that are here have a different feeling about being here now.
Yeah.
And it was a big change for me in terms of education and appreciation.
The conversations must have gotten easier for you.
Much.
I like that people may have thought that you were a rich man the whole time.
I have
Swimming
been.
in money, right?
Oh man, Howard Shapiro, the founder of Seeds of Change, and I think he's 80. I'm 75. We got together 20 years ago, and we went. He said, "We've both been retired all our lives."
We never worked a day in your life,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Well, making art, for yourself.
Yeah.
So we both retired all this time. Now he is like the head of organic food sourcing for Mars Corporation.
Oh wow. Okay.
The biggest family food company in the world. And I'm making Del Maguey,
Yeah.
Well, we can work for 15 years. I mean, we've been retired all this time. It's nothing to go to work.
It's another 15, right?
Yeah, right.
You still out there in the field? I mean, I know you're doing.
I am.
You like it, like touring and being a guest in a way, kind of like a rock star.
I really can't see myself as a rock star. No.
Because a part of a family?
No, I just don't see it. I just see me as me,
Yeah.
So, but I'm really thrilled to be a representative of these great Polencaro families that produce mezcal the traditional ancient way,
Yeah.
And my job is to support them and thank them for continuing to make mezcal the old way.
Given that when there's blood in the water,
The
sharks come, right? And so mezcal is a category.
Oh yeah, no, it's
financial piece.
It's it's just like Austin and San Antonio and Venice Beach and anywhere. The world changes,
Are you concerned about?
Well, I was so pissed off because I owned the entire category for 17 years.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal.
How dare these mothers come in here and go out there and make a deal and start bottling this stuff,
Well, you've inspired folks.
I was very pissed. Now, I've enabled all these 13 families. I don't remember how many producers. I mean, we got 8 or more, 12 producers in Puebla, in one village.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
We have 2 producers in San Luis. We have Chichi, Maximino, and Faustino, father and son. We've changed people's lives. It's been a gift for me, and it's a gift to them.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing thing, to enable people to
blossom
completely,
I think it's one of the things that I feel like your free-spirited nature, and I said in the best possible way, has allowed you to never judge. You see things for what they are and what they could be, but you never. It feels like there's this undying optimism in you. Do you find that that's kind of?
No, I feel like I'm pretty optimistic. Yeah. I can't even imagine being pessimistic.
Yeah. Couldn't get things done, right?
What? That's got to wear you down, man.
Sure. Because you still have a hell of a smile for 75. It looks like you haven't worked a day in your life.
Yeah, right. I have an uncle. I don't know if he's still alive or not. He was the captain of the Hollywood Fire Department. And he, had a welding shop at his home, and was into cars and stuff.
Yeah.
He was a cool guy, Bob. And he said, non illegitimus carborundum, don't let the bastards grind you. Now, I was 14 years old when he told me that. I was like, wow, yeah, right. So, I think that, some people are not aware that they're pessimistic. They just get ground down by the world,
That's a great point.
I feel horrible for that,
How being self-aware, which kind of kicks into it as well, right? How important do you think that is, in being honest with yourself to achieve better and great things?
Well, I think being self-aware, you have to stay focused on what your mission is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you meditate?
You know, meditate is not a good word for me
No.
because it formalized an act of cosmic awareness, you know.
Right.
I spent 1 year alone in my studio in downtown LA, and I had a sign on the front door. I had a loft upstairs, and on the downstairs door there was a sign that said, "Working, please call first."
Yeah.
So for the first month or two, friends would call trying to get me to come out. And I go, "Oh, thanks for calling. How you doing?" "No, I'm working.
Yeah.
See you next time," you know. And during that time, I'd wake up an hour later every week and go to bed an hour later, and my clock went around 24 hours.
No
Okay?
kidding.
But every day at sunset, and this loft had pebble glass, the wire glass with pebbles,
Uh-huh.
so you couldn't see through it. But I'd face west on a couch, and I'd sit there, and it would turn from orange to purple to black. And I would get lost in sitting there,
Yeah.
and suddenly I'd be conscious of light coming not from the windows, but from a light bulb ray down into my head, you know. And so I've always, taken time to relax and not think about what's going on day to day,
Yeah.
minute to minute. I used to, really beautiful thing, I still do it, sweep the studio,
I love sweeping.
you know, and
Yeah.
you sweep, and then you clean up everything, and then you adjust, that goes over there, that goes over there, and then you can lay down and take a nap, you know.
Yeah. It's amazing.
If that's meditation, okay, but I don't know.
I like
Yeah.
that you don't want to sanction it and have
Yeah,
like a definition
no.
because I think you're right. I think it's a way of life to balance introspection, retrospection, but also
Absolutely.
connectivity with the community, people. And did you? That's a really interesting concept. In a sense, the social deprivation in a way. Was it truly a year before you
Yeah.
talked to somebody?
Yeah,
Wow.
friends pulled me out. They needed to use my space for a dance performance workshop,
Yeah.
and we won't bother you. Can we just use that big
I
space?
see.
You know,
Yeah.
they got in
They
there.
get
You
in
know.
there. It worked out.
So it's a good way of coming out too.
Yeah.
It was a slow, nice reintegration.
Absolutely.
But I've done that twice in my life. I spent a year up in a mountain village
Yeah.
in New Mexico, by myself, watching the Milky Way at night and
Oh.
the sun go over in the day, and cooked on a wood stove and lived by kerosene light and fished in the stream that went by.
Yeah.
You know.
Has it been very healing for you? Those moments, those
Sure.
times?
Yeah. Well, they actually are recharging. You know,
Yeah.
you come out of that, you don't need anything. You know?
Yeah. So you have a mezcal empire, and maybe that's a too large a word, but
I
for
have
us,
well, no.
is that fair? That's a good word, right? You're in a throne right now. This chair is very king-like.
Yeah, right. Pernod Ricard has a
Ah,
mezcal
that's right.
empire now.
Was that an interest in all money aside, but just from a responsibility perspective?
It was fantastic.
good for you.
Yeah, Cuervo said, "We're going to buy you." And I went, "No, you're not." InBev, 30% of all the beer in the world, said, "We typically like to invest $10 million in a little project like yours."
Yeah.
And their attorney came and went, "Yeah, we can use their authenticity to create a Latin division to support our cachaça, No, guys, thank you. I'll reach out for you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Diageo, young guys, spent 3 years studying us
Yeah.
intensely. We only talked to the jefes. Come on, you guys.
Yeah.
And then we got invited to Paris, and we met 4 of us, our advisor, and Mike Gardner, my partner, and Steve Olson, my partner.
Mm.
And we sat down at a table with this fabulous grandson of Paul Ricard, the founder. And he looked at me. We're sitting next to each other. He looked at me and said, "You know, my grandfather was an artist, and he started this company, and you're an artist, and you started your company, and I want to be partners." And he's an amazing cat. And
What'd you think? He was like, all right, I'm going to hear you out.
Yeah. Well, it was 18 months of attorneys and accountants, you know, and top-level communications and openness and revealing who we are and what we do and how we do it. And it came through, and Alex Ricard is a real gentleman. And I had a grandfather, my favorite grandfather, came from Russia in the 1800s and went to New London, Connecticut. And when he was 18 years old, he went, "I'm done with this shit." And he left America and went back to London.
No kidding.
Yeah. And after 30 years, he came back and created a family. And when I was 18 and I was in New York and I'm leaving for Europe, he looks at me, he says, "Come on in my room here, you know." And he sits me down on the bed. And he looks at me, he says, "I only have one piece of advice for you. Always be a gentleman."
Oh, that's absolutely perfect.
Unbelievable, yeah.
You know, my mom ensured, my single mom ensured that I was always a gentleman. And honestly, it has made my ability to impact the world in a positive way far better than it ever could have been.
Yeah.
You know, so now you can still create. Love is in your life. You're traveling. This is this beautiful book that's come out with it. The pictures are lovely as well. You have a chapter or two left for you. What do you see as these last few chapters? What are some things you would like to still achieve?
Well, one is assuring that there are people there that can carry the mission.
Yeah.
Gabe Bonfanti was born in Taos. He came and found me. We had a Negroni together in Taos.
Yeah.
He said, I'm really interested in helping Indian farmers."
Cool.
I said, "Okay, come on." He came down with his mom and dad. And she's an artist. His dad is a doctor's assistant, and he goes out actually in a car and visits people that are ill out in the country, you know.
Yeah.
And they're sweet people. Gabe he was a professional ball player in Italy and Australia.
Uh-huh.
He got a degree at Rotterdam and USC in conflict resolution.
Nice.
The guy's so sweet.
Yeah.
You can't ever argue with him, you know.
He's an expert at not arguing.
Oh my God, he's amazing. So he also is the mayor of Oaxaca. I mean, not literally elected, but we joke about it because everybody knows him.
Yeah.
And loves him. And I can't think of a better person to take over what I do. He's out in the villages every day.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of soul. He hears people, you know.
Yeah.
Arturo Ramirez Centeno is a 9-year treasure for us. He was born in Puebla. He's a chemical engineer. He's young. He handles compliance and quality control, and he has a palate that nobody in Mexico has. He's way beyond the beyond.
Yeah.
He and Steve Olson work on, adjusting flavors, understanding flavors incredibly, you know.
That's amazing.
And then we have, we have other people that do run our bodega, our bottling, and Mito Martinez I've known since he was 18. We just have a great crew.
So it's in good hands, you feel?
So I need to leave it in good hands.
Yeah.
And that's happening. But our new partnership we've struggled for a year with the new Norma de Mezcal to squeeze and comply without changing.
Yeah.
And we've managed to do that. We have this incredible lab now with the most sophisticated equipment we never had before. I was always happy to slip and slide a half a degree,
Yeah.
But now we have legal concerns, and we have, Pernod Ricard has zero tolerance. So you're at zero. If you say 74 or 94 or whatever, that's where you can't slip at all.
Wow.
So we're doing that, and it took a while.
Yeah.
We've been building incredible new technologies for traditional mezcal making that really changed the picture.
It's
having fun. Felipe Camarena,
Oh yeah.
Carlos's brother, has given me his engineer,
No way.
Miguel, who is like the most amazing dude, and we're just coming up with stuff you can't believe.
That's I'm excited for the fact that you can look at it in a new way, using technology and using means ultimately, like the finances, to support that. And I think it's going to create a product that's even more consistent than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're probably looking for too, Pernod Ricard.
Maybe.
So,
I mean, I've always liked the little fudging of,
I do too.
But
I get like
it's not gonna. It'll be consistent numerologically, but there'll still be always that slight flavor thing where you poke your tongue in your cheek and say, "Where'd that apple come
Yeah,
from?"
yeah. So I'm going to ask just one more question.
Okay.
And you've got, I bet, an audience upstairs awaiting your arrival.
I have no idea.
I can hear them just scattering
you
above.
hear
Right? So, this is an interesting thing, and I know that you briefly touched on spending the last 3 weeks of your father's life together.
Yeah.
This was after or before the mezcal?
After.
Were you able to share that with him?
Well, he was a businessman. He was raised in the Depression. His dad was a gambler. So they were always out of money or flush in money.
Yeah.
Made him insecure. He went through World War II.
Yeah.
He came home and said, never again. Moved the family to California. And he made sure that we all were covered, you know. So I'm in art school, and he's calling me every 2 weeks, going, "You selling any art?" And I go, "Dad, stop it.
Yeah.
I'm being real. I've been invited to this show. I'm in this museum. You selling any art, son?"
Yeah.
It was the businessman versus the left brain versus the right brain.
Right.
Okay, so all this went on. There was a period I said, if you do that again, I'm not going to talk to you.
Oh, wow.
So there was a period for about 4 years where we didn't talk. Well, that kind of ended. And I was not very successful in his eyes in the beginning, So what happened, though, I sat sesshin at a Zen monastery. A friend of mine was the head monk outside the world, outside Japan in the world, for the world, Baker Roshi. So I went up just to hang out, old buddy, and I sat for 2 days. You sit at 4 a.m. on a little uncomfortable cushion, and you sit there, it hurts, And when am I going to stop thinking? I got to call this. No, stop. When are you going to stop thinking? I got to do this tomorrow. No, you're just trying to just not think.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, bong, this gong rings 4 hours later. Bong. And I realize that I'm looking at this white wall, and there's this huge bronze disc with a silver aura around it on the wall, on a plain white wall that I've been looking at. And when this gong rings, I realize that I've been focused on this cloud of color and no thoughts. So I never became conscious of when I stopped thinking, So, thank you, by the way. So, My dad is laying in bed, probably the day before he died, and his eyes go away. His, you see someone's eyes,
Yeah.
but the focus went way back. He wasn't there. I'm looking at him, I'm kind of massaging his shoulders, massaging his feet, and I'm looking at him, and he's gone away. And I'm going, is he alive? About 10 minutes later, he comes back. Where'd you go? I don't know, but I saw this big bronze disc with this silver light around it. I go,
Oh my gosh.
okay, dude.
Did you feel connected at that point?
Huh?
It's almost like the same random consciousness that you
Exactly.
experienced.
Yeah. It was an amazing...
Because some people think, it's going to be words. Some think it takes a hug or an I'm proud of you kind of thing. But what about a similar experience, completely random, of consciousness? That's amazing. Ron, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, nice talking with you.
And
great interview.
Thanks, man. It's super cool. I've been wanting to talk to you for years, and it finally happened that we were both here in San
Are you the
Antonio.
bartender here?
No, Houston is, but...
You don't do that.
No, I just... I'm a creator, musician.
Cool.
Just like all this stuff. And like I love the movies and the art, man. All those guys you get to hang out with. It's so cool. So I can't wait to see what you're up to next. We're all kind of waiting to see because it's going to be great. And I'd love to see you in action upstairs signing some books.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Ron. I appreciate it.
When we're off the record.
All right. We're going to go off the record 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Ron.
Great.
So there we have it. The grandfather, the father of Mezcal, as we see this category booming. And in 1994, 95, the first drops came into the United States, and the story was set in motion. Sitting downstairs at the Esquire Tavern with Ron, everybody was upstairs besides Leslie, my beautiful partner who was sitting in that room. And honestly, the three of us getting to share that moment, talking about his life, no one else down there. It was an incredible experience. And I maybe didn't know exactly how nuanced and all this stuff, it's kind of like performing in a sense, right? You don't always remember exactly how fast things go or maybe every note that you play, but listening back to this interview is just an amazing experience. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter what type of mezcal you're drinking right now, or if you're saying, man, I really got to pick up that Finding Mezcal book, which you should. It's really beautifully written. Please keep drinking.